Hello, thanks for visiting. This is Hussein Zaidi at salesandmarketingforyou.com, separated by hyphens. This is my famous, I guess it's becoming more and more famous, and as it goes on becomes more and more complicated. It's my famous 5-step, I guess I might as well call it a foolproof, rejection-free approach to making cold calls. If you follow these steps, as I'm going to outline to you, one of two things is going to happen. You're going to get what you want, which is a deal signed or whatever. If it's a transactional sale, as in one call close is what you're expecting, you'll get that close. This is my guarantee to you. Because, the thing is this, it's not magic. There's nothing in here that's magic, guys. There's nothing in sales that's magic. Marketing is about magic. Sales is just about a simple step-by-step process. That's the whole thing. Like, guys, if you're watching this, then you obviously realize that. Okay, so you'll either get your deal or you'll get your follow-up. Okay, which could be, hey, I'm going to send you an email. Okay, we're going to come around and give you a presentation, or you got to go talk to your folks. We'll have some more meetings. EPM, eh? EPM. You got to come up with, or let's call it NEPM. There's something called NEPM out there, but what's this N? This N is like the great unknown, something new. Like basically, you guys have figured something out in this discussion, and you both realize, well, listen, we got to go away and do some more work. Customer and you. The problem with sales and marketing and customers and everyone in this world is no one has time. Everyone's in a rush. Guys, let me give you a little tip. The secret of life is to take your time. If you take your time, you'll be a successful person. That's it. Okay, hello. Intro, permission 1. I'm calling it a perm. You go to the barbershop, you get a perm, alright? Just think of any... Guys, figure out ways to remember things that work. That's up to you. That's not up to me. I'll tell you what I do. I write things down. Obviously, as you can see, right? I write things down. I'll write things anywhere I want. Right? I'm going through some heartbreak with my wife, and here's a heart with a heart inside out like that. And it's basically just reminding me to make sure I close all the loose ends. We were married for 11 years, guys. There's money, there's assets, there's documents, there's my unpublished manuscript she's got. So the heart inside out, like she's ripped my heart inside out, and ergo, quid pro quo, therefore her heart's been ripped out inside out. But the point I'm trying to make is this, that you write stuff down. This is a word to remind me of something, right? This is a word. It's actually the word displays. I'm going to prove to you that I'm not just making this stuff up. You can freeze frame this. This says displays. It's a book I want to write. Displays of power. It's something else. It's kind of like, well, it's spiritual mumbo jumbo to the average, obviously, professional. But guys, the real magic is in that kind of stuff. I'll say this to you that, as you know, there's no telling who's going to be a good sales guy. There's no telling what girl's going to come in on day 1 and she's like this, and on day 30, everyone else, all the veterans are like this, and she's on the phone. She just comes in and does what she does. They can't even hear what she's saying. But the dollars are coming in, and like the quotas are going up, and everyone's like, and they're like, who is this girl? And eventually some director is going to come under her desk and say, what exactly are you doing? By the way, that's where I can help you. Part of what I do, obviously, is write things down. What I'll do for you is I'll create a sales Bible. I did it for Oracle University. I've worked on the same thing for technology companies. I'm a process-oriented person. People, process, technology, guys. That really is all it is. Business is people, process, technology. Okay, let's look at another aspect. This aspect of business. This is the process, and within the process, the goal is the customer. And within that level of thinking, the goal... Just give me a moment, eh? I'm watching this movie, eh? The book by this guy called Stapleton or something, Oil, and they turned it into the movie There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis, the only guy to get 2 consecutive... I don't know if they're consecutive. I believe they may have been. It's like these guys recently with Spotlight, and then Birdman. And Michael Keaton's in both those movies. These are breaking things. So don't come to me afterwards and start comparing Daniel Day-Lewis or Michael Keaton to another person, because those guys have the fruit. My job is to bring you business. I'll do your sales document. I don't like that kind of job because that turns me into an employee, right? I got to write a 50-page manual or 150-page manual, and it's like I charge it. If I charge you, I'll charge you $1,000 a month. I think that's pretty fair for my level of skill, right? Otherwise, the name of my game is I'll bring you business, and then you decide what you think is fair to pay me. And you know you want me to stick around, so we're going to work something out, right? It's like 30%, a third. I don't think a third is unreasonable if I'm bringing you all the business. Just give me a second. All right, Daniel Day-Lewis. And guys, you might think this is psycho. I just play movies in the background. They inspire me, guys. They inspire me. Okay, I don't know if you can see all of this. I'm going to try and fix the lighting in here, eh? There's too much glare. So, 5-step process. And the problem is this. My problem as a consultant is this. I've already gone through all of this stuff. Not once, but it seems like 1,000 times. And then I realized that, you know what? I got to stay doing that. I guess my job becomes to keep hammering home the basics. And what I get out of it is, as I go into the basics, right? You know, don't think that this is the answer or that there is an answer. It's like they say, the truth is not in a box, yo. You go into that box and then there's boxes within that box, to put it lightly. And then you suddenly reach a certain box, and that's where it becomes the spiritual mumbo jumbo comes in. You reach a certain box within that box, and when you go through that, you're suddenly in a different dimension. And there's no longer boxes there, there's spheres. And you're just floating around, and you're like, what the hell is going on? Guys, shall I give you the real deal? The real deal is this. The real deal is you need to get a Pharaoh stick. I'll sell one to you if you want. This is some high quality stuff. $150 a pop. And you get a Zaidi Boy or a salesandmarketingforyou.com Pharaoh stick. You'll be like, what the hell is a Pharaoh stick and what does it have to do with sales? Here's the thing. That girl who comes in every day and picks up the phone, the reason she's successful is because she's humble. The reason you wear a Pharaoh stick is to remind yourself not to act like a Pharaoh. You have a customer call you, guy takes time out of his day, calls you, and you're going to give him attitude? Or you're going to call someone up? Okay, forget this for just a second. I know everyone's like probably looking at this and trying to decipher my notes. It's not, listen to what I say. If I wrote the notes, I'm telling you also that the notes are not important if you don't have this concept in mind. Don't buy my Pharaoh sticks, that's fine. Don't think I make a living off of selling these. I don't. I make a living off of doing what I'm doing right now, which is basically just trying to share my experience and knowledge with folks like you and trying to sell you on the idea that you can trust me. I'm a professional. You know, I may be off the cuff, I may be rough around the edges, but I will get the job done, which is bring you customers. That's it. I'm a fanatic. It's like I'm a Muslim, yo. I mean, I'm sorry to say, my name's the same. What did you figure, eh? Pharaoh stick. This girl comes in, she doesn't, like they gave her a script, she barely even read that stuff, but she has an idea. Like we're selling, for instance, magazine subscriptions. Okay. Let's say you're selling the Toronto Star or the Globe and Mail. I've had these conversations with people who do this, and I've interviewed and I've worked, like in Vancouver. Vancouver is like telemarketing hub of North America, period. And I've worked the circuit there, so to speak. Okay? You've got like residential, all kinds of residential stuff. Everything you can imagine people are selling. I've done furnaces. I did this newspaper thing for a bit, but I mean, I just had see, the problem is, like, I like experience. So I'm working the newspaper thing, and you can make lots of money doing it. You can make lots of money doing any job where your job is to pick up the phone and talk to people. Or, let's put it this way. If you're a consummate customer service professional, unfortunately, your glory days are over. Back in the days, back in the 50s when the phone was new and people started calling companies, that was a high-level job. Customer service person, you might get the equivalent of 40, 50 grand, 60 maybe, starting off in today's money, just because, whoa, like people can hardly talk to one another. People, like, you know this. It's the case in North America. It's not the case in South America. It's the opposite in South America. Hello. People don't make eye contact. Okay? People don't say hi. Guys, understand, whoever's listening to this, the things you want in this life are in the possession or under the supervision or under the authority of other people. Okay? The only exception to this is knowledge, by the way. Now, I want to, let's say, for instance, I'd like to have, I'm thinking, a Mercedes, a CL4. I went around to the Mercedes dealership here in Toronto, Dundas, and then the Don Valley Trail. And I spent a good 15 minutes looking at this car. Why? Because I love Mercedes. I mean, since about 10 years ago, I wanted to get a compressor. I just didn't get around to it. Like in between, like all kinds of cars, right? And then the whole thing is like, you don't, you know, it's like you don't think about the fact that driving itself is the problem. I bike now, guys. I got a Mongoose bike. By the way, I'm faster and have way more fun and look way cooler and get way more chicks propping me on that bike than you could in your Porsche. So then you spend 80 grand on that thing. I spend eight grand on my bike, let's say. So then what do I do with the 72 grand is the only question that it occurs to me. Anyway, guys, so you want stuff in life. In this case, you want either a deal or you want a follow-up. Don't go into this thing without understanding what you want. This girl has come into the office. She understands we're selling subscriptions, and she has put herself in her customer's shoes, man. I got to draw a pair of shoes on here now just to hammer this point home. So basically, you start off, and let's just draw your customer. Here's your customer. In the background, all of this stuff, you got your customer. If your customer is not in the background, then you're really, unfortunately, and look how big his shoes are, okay? I don't know if you can see this. I don't know if you find it funny. It's not funny. It's serious business. And we're in the business of selling smiles. Remember that. Sales is smiles. It begins with a smile on your face, ends with a smile on the customer's face, and that's thanks to John Costigan. If you want a real, professional, polished, regular kind of sales consultant to teach you this, that guy's name is John Costigan. Now you'd look him up and you go and talk to him. And I can just say he makes $1 million a year. He doesn't come cheap. I'm free. You pay him money. I trained with him at Oracle. I had the privilege and honor of training with that guy. John, if you're watching this, selling smiles, guy. Selling smiles, eh? So, you want to go in with a smile, and you want your customer to come out with a smile. That's it. So, if your customer buys your stuff and 6 months down the line it's not working, then this whole thing is useless, right? That's it. So, this girl goes into the office, and then she's like, well, Dad doesn't get newspapers at home. I met a 19-year-old in Vancouver. Her name is Sabrina Chand. I was working for Active State at the time, a Deloitte & Touche Fast 50 company. Ended up getting acquired by Sophos, which is the premier antivirus, anti-spam company in Europe. All of Europe in the commercial space. Okay, no one's heard of it, obviously, because they're very, very good. Couple of guys with PhDs from Oxford or some crap. Seriously, started this company, Sophos, S-O-P-H-O-S, Sierra, October, Papa, Hotel, October, Sierra. Sophos. And so, why didn't I end up working for Sophos? I went and got married to my wife, eh? Let me show you a picture of my wife. So, anyway, this is when we first met in Vancouver, right? And I just quit Active State, actually. That's the truth is I actually got bored of it and whatever. And they were giving me a hard time. I mean, Active State, they were purists. They were like, listen, we just want to put out the best software that we can make. And then I was like, and I had these conversations with product manager, CEO, business development. Well, I was the business development guy, but my boss at the time, Mike Ellis. Mike Ellis left over this stuff. He's sitting in a meeting and he's like, I'm going to take our revenue from blah, blah, blah to $1 million. And then the product manager's like, he comes to me afterward and he's like, man, Mike said all this stuff. And I was like, woo! And I'm looking at him thinking, you're talking to a sales guy and you're wondering at the fact that he's trying to make you some money? I ended up leaving too. Mike, if you're watching this, the reason I'm not still with Sophos is because of you, buddy. Mike gave me wings, guys. Guys, you got to be humble and you got to be a learner and you got to take sales seriously. If you're here just because you needed a job, guys, the worst job in the world to have as one of those jobs is sales. What I mean is this. I've worked at McDonald's. I flipped, well, I flipped my own burgers, but I mean, I flipped jobs like Domino's, so basically within the food industry, I've worked in restaurants serving and upscale restaurants, obviously. And then McDonald's, and then Domino's delivering. So basically, to get an idea of the food services industry, or whatever hell you want to call it, I'm not a label guy, by the way, at all. This whole thing here is stupid. And this girl who comes into your office, like Sabrina Chand was 19, and the only thing holding her back in life is that she had a bad boyfriend, and she was not bondable, as they say in Canada. She had some trouble with the law. Do you know what she said to me? People say like you've got 30 seconds to sum someone up. She said in 9 seconds you either have closed the guy or not. In 9 seconds you've closed the guy, and the rest of it's just playing out. This girl was on a different level, guys, and I'm not surprised. Guys, take your heads out of where the sun doesn't shine. Kids today are incredible. If you have teenagers, please don't belittle them. Please don't put them down. If you've got little tykes running around, when with children, be as children. Like, I see people trying to school their kids, and they're standing there in public going, you know, you young man, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, my heart breaks, man. Our 60 Imam, peace be upon him, Jafar as-Sadiq, the great-great-great-grandson of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his family, you know, he basically said, when you're dealing with children, be as a child. You know, Prophet Muhammad would be walking, and in Islam, it's good to say salam first, because, I mean, if you say salam first, you get more reward. I mean, on the other hand, like, if someone says salam to you, you have to respond. But you get, like, there's 70 rewards for this whole transaction. 69 the guy who initiates gets. So, kids would hide behind the wall or something, and the Holy Prophet would be coming along the way, and they'd jump out. And he knew they were there, of course. And he would say salam first, always, always. But that's all it is. Is it childish? Imam Khomeini, the feared so-called radical terrorist, and I know I'm totally going off track and I'll probably lose people. I don't care. You think I care? I work for the person who feeds me, and I'm loyal to that person, that being. Din, 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 din. You know what? Prodigy, I think. No, Prodigy. Well, who's the guys who did I'm a Creep? And Radiohead did the soundtrack for this movie. Very intense stuff, and you start off with just a distorted guitar. Anyway, guys, I'm totally getting off track here. I apologize. You know what? Let me just adjust the lighting one more time. Oh my God! They're like, is my YouTube working? What happened? The screen suddenly went blank. Oh God, this is even worse than before. Okay, this is what you're getting. It may look bad, but this is fluorescent versus bulb lighting. Okay, so hopefully this works. What I've got here is intro, permission 1, elevator pitch, permission 2, squeeze. Problem is, most people just want to squeeze, right? Hey, if you're Sabrina Chand and you know how to squeeze subliminally, like kind of somehow psychically or whatever, this mystical mumbo jumbo, she figures it out, and then she plays out the rest. And her process, like, if I could get her wherever she is and come and show her this what I'm doing and take a few months to explain, and then have her come up with her stuff, guys. Like, you might be looking at this and saying, well, this is the greatest. I had some guy in Australia, he flipped out when he saw this. And he's calling me, and his sales guys are all fired up, and he's like, oh my God, it's like because the thing is, permission 1 and permission 2, the differentiator for me. Okay, we're going to talk about unique sales proposition here in a second. My differentiator is asking for permission twice. What makes this difference? You don't ask for permission once, you ask for it twice. Hello, so this girl, your newspaper seller, she's thought out the fact that we don't have newspapers at home, and why would I buy newspapers therefore? So she's like, on the day one, she's like, this is a bit silly. And she's got a phone, and she's got 4G data, and she's like, why would you need newspapers? I'll tell you why. It's really nice to have stuff to hold. It's really nice to have stuff to have in your hands, guys. And you to carry it around with you. And, you know, there's a whole kind of love-hate thing that goes on between a person and his book. Like my first love, Luisa Leontiades, hey babe. She told me that, you know, The sign of a reader is the books are just like, they've got notes in them and their pages are turned, and she taught me how to read. I got books now, like so many books. I'm moving out of this crummy basement apartment soon. I've been trying to find an ideal location in Toronto. Obviously involved in litigation with my property management company, the usual nonsense. Anyway, you go in and you need to have in mind the reason that your customer is even going to be interested. If you don't have that, guys, stop and figure it out. It's called your USP. Okay, your USP is right down here. Okay, we're going to get to it. You go in and say, this is Sabrina calling from Globe and Mail. Okay, and she's thinking, this is so stupid. No one's going to buy these papers. But because she's a tigress, she keeps going. And along the way, she finds out those reasons, guys. That's a real good tip for sales guys. Always have your one ear open to what your customer's saying in terms of things that really push their buttons. Like you're like a seasoned guy, 10 years selling 6-7 figure deals at, let's say Novell. Okay, and then one day you meet some dude and he's a perfect guy. You know it. Your marketing guys have done the job. You met him at a trade show. Everything. You've already talked to his team and everything. The VP for some reason won't budge. You guys don't just go at him saying, well, we did the same thing for Oracle. We did. IBM works with us. Monsanto in St. Louis, they're big on this. They're a CA shop, by the way. So, I went there. It's like this huge farm, basically, in the middle of St. Louis. It's incredible. And they got guys there that have been there for 20 or 30 years. Now, here's the thing. People bad Monsanto. It's so fashionable to put them down and say that they're destroying crops and all this stuff. I'll be honest with you guys, they're serving the market, guys. They're serving the market. Think about what I just said. They're serving the market to the best of their ability, and therefore God is rewarding them. That's the way I see it. Now, on the one hand, that's all going on. But on the other hand, let's hope one day it becomes clear to senior executives there that, like, what they're doing, although they're so focused on serving the market, what the market's asking for is cheaper crops we can transport, crops that we can package, crops that don't. They've been solving thousands of problems to bring us a distribution and food services operation where billions of people get fed. We just discount that and we say, oh, a few Indians in Bangladesh are like, they're suffering. I'm sorry about those guys. Let's take care of those guys, and then let's see what happens. Or I don't know. Genetically modified crops, is that bad? Now here's the thing, the Quran says that there are people who try and alter God's creation, right? Is that referred to that? I don't know. I'm just a marketer. I don't know about none of that stuff. I'm a marketer and I'm going to bring you business. That's it. And it's like, as long as I don't see like you're killing people, and like if it's something that becomes clear to me, like, okay, I wouldn't work for ExxonMobil. I wouldn't work for a tobacco company. I won't work for a sugar company. I won't work for a brand unless I believe in what they're doing. And along the way, I become a brand ambassador because I live the lifestyle. I drink the Kool-Aid. So if I do some work for Roots, it's that I really go into well, this is not Roots. This is more like Canadian. Well, these guys that have ripped off Canadian Goose. Canadian Goose is this very successful brand, guys. I know I'm digressing upon digressing. I have Orange County Detective, people say. Or Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, eh? So, that's just a label. To me, it means nothing. To me, it means nothing. I meet nice people and stupid people. Some people judge me, some people don't. Some people get what I'm trying to do. I hope you're one of them. I gotta wrap this up because I don't know how much memory I have on my phone. But, okay, so Monsanto, they're doing their thing, you do your thing, and just be happy with the brand. And Canada Goose, for a while I walked around downtown Toronto, every time I saw, because it was peculiar to me how a brand with no advertising, suddenly everyone's wearing Canada Goose. Like, it happened over a course of about 5 years. So I'm like, are these guys based in New York? Are they really a Canadian company? Like, where's the advertising? And then it turns out these jackets are the real deal. If you put goose feathers, and so you understand what I'm trying to explain to you is that as a marketer, I had this quandary. Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, I have very fancy jackets. I got a bunch of them, all kinds of jackets. I don't pay more than $100 for a jacket, $150. Hey, listen, I'm not beneath going to the thrift store, Value Village. I get a nice 4, 5, 6, 700 denier jacket for $30, and some rich guy put it in there. you know, I'm not downing rich people. I just like to give all my stuff away, right? I make lots of money, by the way. I have lots of assets. But in terms of liquidity, if I carry money in my wallet, you better be certain at the end of the day I won't have a single penny left. It's a different topic completely. But see, I'm doing my market research. Like this girl, Sabrina, let's say, is selling newspapers. She's like, why would, well, because if you are not clear in your mind, how are you going to clarify things for the customer? So these jackets have goose down in them, and it's the best thing to keep you warm. It's like people say leathers is really good keeping you warm, and you know, if you're a motorbike rider, that's another dream of mine. Eh? Since I was 15, I still haven't gotten around to it. Like one of the companies I worked at, Control F1, the guy there, the two brothers. I mean, I've been blessed by God big time. I don't know what to say. That's why I give all my stuff away, guys. Like my knowledge. I hope you don't let me offend you and scare you. And I will build your brand and bring you customers and fix your process right, your sales book, teach your folks how to speak, right? And teach your marketing guys that it's not just about shiny brochures. I used to say to my customers on the phone, hey, I'm going to send you a nice shiny PDF. It's just a joke. Nobody reads them things. If you can't explain it, why are you going to... Okay, it's like you go to Walmart and they say to you, why don't you go online? I'm like, I'm here talking to you right now in person, and A, you're sending me away. That's the really bad move, by the way. any executives out there who are going into web services, or not web services, but e-commerce or whatever, just keep in mind, high tech, high touch. Okay? It's not high tech. It's not like, hey, we have a nice website and suddenly we can close all our stores. That's what they wish is going to happen. It'll never happen. It's like we still have newspapers, even though we have email, even though now we have Facebook and virtual stuff. We're going to have nanotechnology inside our bodies by 2050. Watch The Transcendental Man on Netflix, guys. There's a guy out there who's already sussed it out. Based on Moore's law of computing power, microprocessing power in 2050 is going to be nano-sized. Nano means, like microchips everyone thinks are the shizney, which they are. Nano means it's like blood corpuscles. It's like the stuff you see in the movies. You're going to have something that's the size of a white blood cell, which is actually a microchip. And what do you think we're going to do with those things? Like everything else, we're going to snort them. All right, that's not funny, I know. But we are going to have nanotechnology inside of us. We are going to be the internet, guys. It's like so profound to think about it. On this last video I did, you know, talking about Donald Trump's how to get rich. And here's a little secret, by the way. You can actually look up YouTube videos of Donald Trump's book. I don't like saying that because it's still in the market. If it didn't have a shelf life, or if it was end of life, EOL, then I don't mind propping it because they're not making money anyway. And this way, at least awareness starts building again. People start downloading it digitally, and they're like, this is a great book. And if they see it, then they'll buy it. So think about what I just said. Intellectual property in the digital age, if you put something out there, digitized, then don't start crying and calling your lawyers and filing litigation if people get their hands on it. All right, word to the wise. Sabrina's here. Sabrina's wondering about dad not buying papers. She talks to her first guy. This is Sabrina at the Globe and Mail. The guy shuts her down immediately. He's like, Sabrina, I don't have time for this. She's a tigress. And she doesn't like the fact that, A, he cut her off. She was super polite, okay? Super respectful, super humble. The guy shut her down in a second. Sabrina, I don't blah, blah. I don't repay, I don't have it. This is what she does. Nothing. It happens spontaneously. She's like, hold on. And then they're both like, that emotional eruption, that's the mark of a true sales professional. Guys, one of my sales mentors, okay, the esteemed John Yancey at Computer Associates, who was so undervalued there, I hope he becomes a regional, territory regional manager for all of the Midwest. Yancey, if you're out there, guy, I still remember your speeches. I still remember stuff you told us. He was ex-NFL quarterback, guys. He went to work for Oracle, then he went to Computer Associates. Oracle and Computer Associates are like sister companies. I mean, I went from CA to Oracle. A bunch of people come back and forth. It's just what they do. It's like that's what they do in the valley, right? That's what they do. Like, I mean, obviously Computer Associates is out in New York, but Long Island, but in IT, it's like we're living in a world, okay? And with your customers and your brand, you've created a community. Let's say you're selling papers, you're looking for people who are readers, basically. They like reading stuff. And if you find, so Sabrina finally figures this out. Like, she has this back and forth with this guy, and yeah, she doesn't close him, but she does. I mean, here's how it's this thing is rejection free. If you have the right mentality, you can't lose because you're going to learn something from the call. Guys, how can you say if you've learned something from the call, how can you call that a rejection? Do you understand? She learned a valuable thing that not everyone reads. And then she thinks, everyone keeps saying it's a numbers game. She sees all these honchos in the office walking around and they're doing their thing. And they're getting all the deals and stuff. And she asks one of them, it happened to me as well, man. I worked for, let's say, it's called, not Amway, but something like, there's a lottery company. If you go to lotteries.com, that's the company I'm talking about. Like, there's a company in Vancouver, telemarketing. Buddy used to clean offices, and he started mailing lottery tickets to the States, customers, and people started buying them. And he started a company, and it spiraled out of control to the extent that the States passed legislation saying that Canada can't sell lottery tickets to the States. NAFTA, eh? Lumber, hello. So, he sells them to everyone in the world now. The only stipulation is he can't sell, let's say, Spanish El Gordo lottery. El Gordo means the big one. The Spanish El Gordo, like, you guys think the Super 7 or whatever out here is the good beans. And by the way, like, of course, Powerball in the States. States is something else. But Canadians, we get caught up in like, oh my God, it's like $30 million. And in the States, it's like $300 million jackpot. Right? But by the way, we're getting there. Like, hey, thanks to our Yankee friends, we've got all our satellites pointed south, eh? Satellite dishes. And so we're learning. We're like the younger polite sister of the big, rough, tough brother. That's the way I see the States and Canada. Now, we've started gambling big time, guys, and we started drinking big time, and we started doing a bunch of stupid stuff that we really shouldn't be doing big time. I'm a Muslim. I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones because I don't even think about this kind of crap. It's just not part of my religion. And if I start doing that stuff, I might as well not pray 5 times a day. Right? I got a mark on my head here, 40 years of praying, right? Or whatever, minus, like, let's say 9, 30 years of praying. I'm proud of that, okay? I'm proud of who I am. I used to think, well, my name's Hussein, and one of my bosses early on, hey Jerome, how you doing? One of my bosses early on, he came up with the name John Howells. I fucking wrote that like a rocket. Sorry about the F-bomb. But I'll keep this R-rated. You're allowed 1 F-bomb. So, yeah, he's like John Howells. And then I realized after a while that in sales, any disadvantage, perceived disadvantage, and in business and in life in general, can be flipped on its head right away and turn into an advantage. So everyone is interested in objection handling, objection handling. You think if you got, okay, this is what people ask me to do. They come to my website and this is what they ask me to do. They want me to create a scenario. It's impossible. I'm going to tell you right away. You need a supercomputer, and Gary Kasparov, like, managing this project, by the way. So they say, I want a chart, some kind of Gantt chart or a flow chart where you come at the top and you say hello, and then I want every outcome that could possibly happen. First of all, no one's ever going to be able to encapsulate that in their mind. Your sales guy, you're going to give him like reams of, you're going to give him this org chart, or you're going to have it on the side of your sales floor, and guys are going to be on their phone going up and down that thing saying, okay, the guy said this, now I should say this. Are you kidding me? Heart, guys, heart. The thing goes from your head to your heart. Once it's in your heart, you can forget all this stuff and you can write your own stuff. Okay? So, Sabrina's now figured out it is a numbers game. Okay? And by the way, you take any objection, turn it on its head. So here's the thing. Objection handling, very simple. Whatever your customer says, you say, well, that's exactly why you should buy. And you'll both be like, and in that space, that's when you're clawing for wine.